So you talk about arbitraging information. I think a lot of people don't understand what that means, and how do you change information that is being fed to you 24/7, right? YouTube, Instagram, Google, Facebook. Me personally, over the last 2 months, I think I've gotten my screen time on social media from like 6 hours a day.
I've seen you disappear a little bit. Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? I used to give myself the excuse of like, I'm on social media to work, to keep up with news. But I changed this one habit, and it's every time I open up my Instagram, I tell myself dopamine, 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 right? So it's like I'm striking my head. It's like, do you really want this dopamine, or do you want to put it away, right? So there's a big, like, what's the word I want to use? There's just lack of information of people not knowing where to start, right? It's like, how do you rewire your brain? Because somebody like you, you're reading, you're getting access to information that the average person, right, doesn't see. Don't know where to look either. So how does that first step start?
I think the first step is in becoming humble and realizing that you don't know shit. Right? Because when you're humble and you sit down and you're like, why are all these people so far ahead than I am in my same age bracket, and why am I stuck? And it has to do with, first of all, understanding that you don't know anything. Like you truly don't know anything. So you come with a student's mentality. I see people, you know, and I see it not just with myself, but with other influencers. I see it when people comment on YouTube. Their first reaction is to shit on people, or is to be like, oh, this was lucky. Well, what if it wasn't lucky? What if you're wrong with that comment? What if that person was prepared? And it's this idea that so many times in life, you look at a situation and you try to view it through your lens. But maybe the solution is that you have to educate yourself in a way that other people don't educate themselves. And I say this often is, do you think that the kings or the monarchs or the emperors got the same education that the peasants got? Do you think that they ate the same food that the peasants ate? Do you think they hung out in the same circles that the peasants hung out? No, they didn't. So the first step is understanding that the education that you're being fed, right, is going to lead you to an end result. So you have to ask yourself, who's feeding me this information, and what is their intent? The second thing is, who's feeding me food, and what is their intent? And the third one is, what circles am I being placed in, or am I putting myself in? And what is the intent of the people around me? Because if you can understand the intent of why people are doing what they're doing to you, or to themselves, or to the environment, you can determine whether you want that for your life or not. That's the first part. The second step is you need to look at the data. If there's an issue with diabetes, for example, in America being one of the leading causes of death, the question has to be, well, why is that taking place, right? If there's so many people addicted to porn, you need to ask yourself, well, why is that the case? If people are getting smashed all day, getting drunk all day, being high all day, you have to ask yourself, well, what's the source? What's the reason? What are they thinking, and what is being fed to them? And you want to stay away from that. Food-wise, mental-wise, and then the people around you. Dude, you know it just as much as I do. Most people are like, oh, you know what, bro? I have shitty friends, but they're still my friends, you know? Dude, you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life. You have to live with yourself for the rest of your life. You don't have to live with your girl for the rest of your life. You're not going to live with your boys for the rest of your life. So the decisions that you make, you have to be accountable to yourself in the fucking mirror every single day. Because when you're on your deathbed, you can't be out here blaming nobody. It's just you. It's your decisions. And what I realized is that the foundation to everything, success, wealth, everything, is health. Why? Because I can have, let's say, my parents. People talk about family. But if I don't have my health, I can't enjoy my family. But I could do without my family and still have everything else. But if I don't have my health as a base,
can't do anything.
It's useless. I could have all the money in the world, but if I don't have my base set and established, then I lose. I could have a phenomenal relationship with my girl, right? But if I don't have health as a foundation, there's nothing to build on. And it's this idea that if you're dead, or if you're not operating like Nate said, your CPU is not operating at its full capacity, you're losing. And people need to focus on that. And I say, as I've said it before, it's this idea that when I go and ask these billionaires for advice in Puerto Rico, or I sit down with people worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, or people that have sold companies, I ask them, dude, give me some advice. Focus on your health. Focus on your health. Well, what about money? Shut the fuck up. Focus on health. And then you start realizing that the needs and the wants that the common people have, or the people that are uneducated, is not the same wants and needs that people that have already made it have. So you ask yourself, maybe I just avoid all the bullshit and I go straight to the end goal by surrounding myself with winners, taking the advice of winners, which is focus on your health, focus on your development, focus on yourself, and then the rest will come. What do you think, Dane?
What I think is the first thing that you're talking about is, you said kings had different education. What is education? It's information. It's just they choose what information to give you, and then they give other people other information. But Ma, I want to challenge something you said. You said that we lack information.
Yeah.
I highly disagree. I think we have an oversaturation of information, especially since we're hyper-connected with this internet, bro. Like, this has only been around a couple of years, G.
Yeah.
Like, we as humans are trying to adapt to what this world has brought us to in 2022.
Yeah.
So the issue is there is good information and there's a lot of erroneous information. There's a lot of people out there with their either agendas or opinions, but basically everybody has a voice. So when you have a voice, you have information. Yeah. So you have to learn how to, like Luke said, what's their intention, who's saying it. Dude, I know so many people that just leak fake information on the internet, and other people, credible people like news outlets,
sign on it.
Pick it up.
We'll literally pick up the stories, dude.
Pick it up without even verifying.
And that's what happens 24/7. So even this idea, we were talking about, what were we talking about? Oh, I was talking with Jonathan. We were talking about like Nikola Tesla. And I was like, what do you know about Nikola Tesla? And he's like, well, I heard. I was like, whoa.
Information.
I was like, well, you don't know anything because you heard, right? Instead of being like, well, based on my research and based off of my education. And this idea that Google is literally going to hand you a bullet point list of truth.
You have some guy there, SEO, being like, okay,
is
let's rank first with this
the
info.
most ridiculous and stupid assessment that you can make. Oh, well, if it's not in a .gov website, then it must not be true, right? So this idea that truth is in a singular point or in a singular location is not real. Truth is all over the place, and truth is a compilation of data sets and information that you're going to acquire by spending time intentionally searching for it. And the problem is people are distracted. They're distracted by noise. They're distracted by current events. Dude, anytime stuff happens on social media, first, let's say it was COVID, then it was the Ukraine, then it was Johnny Depp, then it was Kanye. In people's minds, they're not even thinking about COVID anymore, bro. They're not even thinking about Johnny Depp. They're on to the next motherfucker. They're being like programmed 24/7, and they're being pushed back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Why? Because the most important, most powerful currency in the world is not even attention. It's energy. It's energy. And it's, what are you giving your energy to? Are you giving it to some motherfucker out there, right? Or are you focusing that energy on developing yourself? So many people are distracted with garbage, distracted with noise, distracted with poor relationships. And then they look at their life and they're like, what's wrong? You're what's wrong.
People want uphill results with downhill habits.
True. Very true. Let me go backtrack, because this is something that I hear a lot of times, especially like people in the comments, right? They're like, who is they? Who is they that we always talk about? Who is this master agenda, right? Is it the government? Is it the Jews? Is it the people who print the money in America or in the world? Who is they when it comes to, at least when we say they, for you, Luke, you say they a lot, right? They want to control.
Yeah, so they is more so, it's a system, right? It's a system. It's not a single point of contact. You can't blame everything on one individual unit. It doesn't work that way. There's 7 billion people in the world with 7 billion agendas. The problem is a lot of people subscribe to the agendas of other individuals. Therefore, now you have mass hysteria, and the group mentality is not a reasonable mentality.
Yeah.
So the they is a system. And what is the system? The system is to garner and focus your energy, suck your energy away from you so that you can give it to these resources, give it to these agendas, and basically make you a slave. What is slavery? Slavery is this idea of not being able to be an autonomous individual that makes their own decisions, whether willingly or unwillingly. It's not a specific entity. It's not a specific person. You know, we can go under conspiracies and start naming a ton of people and all these things, but I've never broken bread with these individuals, but I know that the system is broken. So it's not so much an individual as it is an institutional virus per se that from the moment you're born attacks you. From the moment you're born, you're told what your nationality is, what your religion is, what to think, what to believe, what to wear, who's your enemy, who's your friend, what color's your color, what color's not your color. You're not even yourself. Mm-hmm. So this idea of truth and seeking information is for you to start developing who you want to become. And the beauty about the world is that in this matrix that we live in, and we call it matrix to simplify this idea of spawning with consciousness in a place that we have no idea, like what the fuck's going on. Like you don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what the fuck's going on. We're just here trying to figure shit out. Like that's the truth, right? And am I going to be focusing my attention and giving my attention and my energy to some bullshit drama that's happening on the internet that I know is controlled, and I'm going to give my attention and energy to that? Or am I going to focus my attention and energy to reprogram and get rid of all the labels and all the bullshit that were assigned to me ever since I've been born, and figure out who do I want to become? Not who am I, but who do I want to become? And then work towards that persistent pursuit of the potential that you can achieve as an individual.